event this is. This is a very, very exciting opportunity to address a very urgent and a desperate issue in our world, and that is child sexual abuse. The idea behind Jenna's Law was born out of the important need to prevent child sexual abuse through educating children and adults on the likely warning signs. Abuse can happen anywhere, and I know firsthand that it is a crime of opportunity. Growing up, I was not considered an at-risk child. I was actually a teacher's kid, and my mom taught at the private school that my sisters and I went to. And at this school, where my family thought that I would be safe, is where we grew close to another family. And this family happened to be the family of my best friend. And my best friend's father, I had no idea, would end up sexually abusing me for 3 years. And this man was not just my best friend's father, he was a trusted family friend and also a basketball coach. So he played many roles, not just in my life, but in my family's life. Over 90% of the time, a child is sexually abused by someone that they know and trust. And like most children, I was threatened not to tell, not to say a word. And during those 3 years, my otherwise normal, carefree, happy life began to change. My behavior, my emotions, to the point that I began to fail classes, withdraw socially, develop severe depression, suicidal thoughts, anxiety, insomnia, night terrors, and even began to self-mutilate by cutting. But worst of all, I went to the emergency room twice after 2 separate incidences of sexual assault because I broke out in hives all over my body. That's how I responded. And even in that hospital, the doctors ran test after test after test, and they could not figure out what was wrong. I wasn't allergic to anything. So they just thought maybe I was just a stressed out little child. And I still couldn't say because of the fear and the shame and the dynamics that go on in the child that's been sexually abused. And even afterwards, my parents took me to doctors to try to find a medical reason for what I was going through, but nothing checked out. I was very healthy, other than what I was experiencing. And what is wrong with this girl? What is wrong with Jenna? That was the question that everyone had. My teachers, my parents that I was close with, no one could figure out what was wrong because they didn't know. They simply did not have the prevention information in front of them to know that all of those behaviors that I exhibited were behaviors of a child that is being sexually abused. So finally, at the urging of my older sister, I was finally able to make my outcry at the age of 16. And during the ensuing investigation, one of the police officers directed me to a hospital where I was to get a SANE exam, a sexual assault nurse examination. And in that waiting room, my mom noticed a pamphlet, and on that pamphlet read signs and symptoms of child sexual abuse. And she began to read it to pass the time, and she was appalled at what she saw. I was exhibiting over the past 3 years over 80% of those behaviors listed. And she felt angry that she didn't have that information in her hands. As a mom, first of all, that's close with her daughter, but also as a teacher, as an educator. that she had never known to detect it in the classroom. She was too late. She was too late. The damage had already been done. Studies show that 95% of child sexual abuse is preventable. And that's the good news. It is preventable. But only through education. The American Medical Association has labeled child sexual abuse as a silent epidemic. And I believe that it is silent because children will always be afraid to tell. And adults often don't want to talk about it or consider that that is a possibility for a child, especially a child that they know. So its devastating effects often go unnoticed and undetected. The Stewards of Children app is transformational in that it will bring awareness right into the hands of an adult to equip them to prevent, recognize, and very importantly, to respond to child sexual abuse. If only my mom or the educators around me, the adults that knew me so well, that watched me grow up, if only they had that app in their hand, that pamphlet, they would have known at least to consider that it was child sexual abuse. It is time, it is truly time to make this private matter a public matter, because we cannot heal what we don't reveal. And love will always do what it can to prevent an injustice. It will always do what it can to prevent injustice. And it will always do what it can to promote peace. And you cannot put a price on peace of mind for a child. So thank you for being here, for understanding, and for knowing that prevention is the key to stopping child sexual abuse. Thank you.